Fundamentalists, your go-to true crime podcast. I'm your host, Elliott Morgan. I'm here with Peter Rollins. Today, we are discussing the true crime phenomenon of the recent case of Gabby Petito, which I believe everyone has pretty much heard about.
Are we trying to chase clicks here?
Absolutely, always.
We're trying to jump in on something contemporary.
We're trying to jump in on something that happened like 6 weeks ago, which I think is pretty on point. We've been doing this. We had another a more current, up-to-date episode that we did on the show The Activists or something like that, or the thing on CBS that was a big uproar. And we are going to put that exclusively on patreon.com/thefundamentalists, which you can go to if you would like to support this podcast. And also, we're going to be working on a new little set soon and all that fun stuff. So I'm very excited about it. Maybe even, and this is a crazy thing that I'm going for.
Okay.
I've been wanting this for so long. Multiple camera angles.
Oh,
right? How crazy would that be for the video
amazing.
versions?
Yeah.
You can find at youtube.com/Elliott Morgan. So, let's see. Let's dive in here. So,
are you going to give us an update then?
I'm going to give a little bit of an update. Yes.
As someone who hasn't followed it at all.
You haven't followed it at all?
At all. I knew, except for Dog, the bounty hunter, I watched something where he was talking about it.
That's when I checked out.
Yeah.
That's when I said enough.
That's where I checked in. I was like, this guy, I don't even know much about him, but I'm like, who is this guy?
Yeah, you missed that. You missed the Dog, the bounty hunter kind of wave that happened. He was quite the phenomenon for a second.
Yeah.
So 2 weeks since Gabby Petito was revealed to have been the victim. And by the way, in case you're wondering, we only have the most trusted news sources available. So this comes from Fox News. 2 weeks since Gabby Petito was revealed to have been the victim of a homicide, famed forensic pathologist Dr. Michael Baden told Fox News the FBI's decision to withhold her remains from her family was very unusual, as was the agency's decision not to release the cause of her death when the manner was announced. Teton County coroner Dr. Brent Blue found in his initial determination that Petito, 22, was the victim of a homicide. The FBI's Denver Field Police Office announced on September 21st. Her body had turned up near Grand Teton National Park in Wyoming on September 19th. Now, here's the part that freaks me out the most about this, okay? Now, this is the part that really cemented my interest. I was in Denver when this was going down, when the story was really blowing up. I was going to see my partner's show. She has a show. She does a little song and dance for people. I don't know what it is. Never seen it, but I closed my eyes the whole time. But I was there with Grace, and we were just in the bed, and both of us independently, not knowing it, we're just scrolling through, just doom scrolling this story. And there's a phenomenon that happens with this, like the thing that happened near Skid Row, in the water tank. That girl, you know that whole story.
Yeah, I heard about that. Yeah,
it's like these internet sleuths will sort of step up or whatever, and most of the time that gives me the cringe out the wazoo, and I get really upset about it because I'm like, these people need to let law enforcement do their thing and get out of the way, essentially. However, this particular story, there was a couple who were YouTubers who were vlogging, and they were vlogging.
I saw this,
they were vlogging their thing, and it's you can find it. It's the title's like, "Is this Gabby Petito's van?" or something like that. And it's just minutes of scroll of just straight uncut footage, and they passed this van. People were able to point out those were her sandals and all this stuff, but there's a little freeze frame where you can actually see a figure in the background of a field, what looks like a shovel, doing his thing.
Oh, I didn't hear that.
Really? Oh, you didn't hear? Yeah,
I heard that they said that they saw maybe a door close on the van, but I looked at it and couldn't see that. But
I saw it with my dumb eyes.
You saw someone with a shovel?
It looks like literally a figure bent over. Like, you can't really see the shovel, but it is like a millisecond. But it is movement for sure, and it is a humanoid shape, and it is like creepy town. Right. Okay? And so what is going on, Pete, that we are so fascinated with this, and I know this is the cliche, of course, and I think cliches are cliches for a reason, is that this is a predominantly, women love the serial killer thing, or tend to. I'm
glad you brought that up, because I was going to bring that up, but it's always a bit dangerous. So
it's
you
kind
said
of the accepted kind of demo. It's like, there's girls that are into monster trucks too, but it doesn't, and girls that are into pro wrestling.
But it's like, guys, when we've talked about it, and I want to make a connection, but guys are mostly into the UFO phenomenon. That's mostly a male phenomenon. The murder thing is mostly feminine. Yeah.
And speaking of it being UFOs being a mostly male phenomenon, I will also be a guest talking a little bit about the fundamentalists on the podcast Let's Get Haunted, which I've talked about on this before, which is female hosted. So
Yeah.
they're the two females that are in the UFOs. So yeah, what's going on? Why do we love this so much? Is it just a sort of macabre death drive? Visceral? Is it a desire to ourselves to sort of live vicariously through either the victim or the perpetrator? So we're going to dive into some psychoanalytic discussions around this topic and see what we can find.
Yeah, and I have a theory.
Okay.
Okay, do you want to hear the theory?
Yes.
And obviously, this doesn't cover everybody or anything. We're looking at it like as a social phenomenon. Why are a few months ago on one of our podcasts, I talked about how I think that what anchors some subjectivity into the UFO phenomenon is the question, what does women want? So I
You're
was saying,
always making it about UFOs.
yep. But the argument was that, of course, people can be into UFOs for all sorts of reasons, but this phenomenon is largely a lot of men. There's this idea of what does the other want? What does the other want? Anyway, I want to do the same thing with murder.
Hold on.
Yeah.
So you, a Freudian who thinks that the UFO phenomenon is about sex, are going to somehow imply that this too is also about sex a little bit.
Yes, 100%. Well, all about desire. I want to just backtrack
great.
from sex
I'm
to
excited.
desire because I'm more Lacanian than
that's
Freudian.
great.
So
That's
yes,
great.
desire. But you are correct that I'm going to talk about desire and sexuality, and hence the femininity, masculinity stuff
Love
as
it.
well. So here's the argument I want to make, and I kind of take. And by the way, this is going to be a great explanation of some basic psychoanalytic concepts in the Lacanian tradition.
Love it.
So if there's a certain sense in which what does the other want is kind of connected to some of the UFO kind of libidinal investment, you could say that what does the other have is very connected to the murder mystery. So for a lot of people, and the funny thing is, so whenever Freud said, what does women want? He doesn't say, what do women want? He says, what does women want? As in the kind of like woman as a
archetypal
species.
woman.
Yeah, which doesn't exist. And that was Freud's point, is like, that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Man, woman doesn't exist. But what they find in neurotics in the clinic was that male neurotics and female neurotics tended to have a different relationship to the object of their desire. Funnily enough, different from psychotics and perverse, but in terms of neurosis, there was these different experiences of how desire functions. And what was seen was that there is a type of desire in which some people are like, what is it that makes someone so desirable that a person will kill for them, die for them, or kill them? So whenever you look at someone like, so romance is, you look at, say, a woman and you ask yourself, why is it? What is it? What secret treasure does she have? That generates
Every damn day, I tell you. Just start drinking a beer. No,
you experience this?
Oh God, every day.
Yeah. Well, what is this profound inner something that generates, as say, this excessive desire, which is called object A. And weirdly in murders, it's a similar thing. As what is it that generates this desire that's so excessive to kill? Like there's something like that has to be to generate that much passion. And sometimes the affect that people have when they watch these is that they are fearful that someone's going to murder them. So I've got a few friends, one of them I was talking to recently, who was saying that, you know, the affect she'll have is this fear of someone breaking into the house to murder, right? Which of course, in some sort of unconscious way, is like also an excitement that there's something in you that generates so much desire that someone would want to kill you. There's a passion.
Okay.
Yeah,
I see. Okay.
And by the way, the interesting thing about this kind of desire and why it's not about man and woman is because one of the stereotypical in psychoanalysis examples of the feminine structure is Socrates. Because Socrates was actually this ugly guy who knew nothing, but he had what one person at the time called a secret treasure. It was called a galma. His secret treasure, something about Socrates that made him so desirable that everybody wanted to sit around and be around him. So first thing I was kind of wanting to throw out is this idea that for some people, and men and women, the question is, what does the other have that makes them so desirable that a person will either die for them, kill for them, or be killed for them? Mm-hmm. That's why actually some people as well in relationships have to have drama. They want to evoke any form of passion, any form of something, because that passion generates their experience that I have the secret treasure within me. Mm-hmm. So that's the first thought. Okay, I can keep going, or I can stop there.
Let's keep going. Okay, let's keep rolling down this road.
All right. So this comes to this notion of what it's called objet putia. We've talked about it. It's never translated. That's why it's always in French. But if you translate it, it's called small object A or object A.
It's never translated. But translated, it means...
Yeah, the small object A. I'll just call it object A, right, for the sake of this. Object A is a type of proto-object. It's a type of... it's that thing that is ultimately desirous. It's the thing that you really want, but actually it doesn't exist. So every time you get it, it's not really there. And so here's my thinking of how to understand object A. Okay. Is if someone goes into a chemist and there's two types of painkiller and they're looking at which painkiller to buy, right? We all know this first bit is if there's the store one and then there's one that's much more expensive with better packaging and more advertising, even though they both have the same ingredients, the one that's more expensive will tend to work better. Mm-hmm. Unless you're autistic or something, it won't work, or psychotic. But for a neurotic person, placebo effect will take place, and the more expensive painkiller, you will experience it working better. Now, people all know that, but what is more interesting is if that person goes into the store and they're looking at the two painkillers, they have exactly the same ingredient. And so object A, by the way, is the extra ingredient that the expensive one has. It doesn't have it in reality, but there's something that
allure,
gives it this extra hit, and it actually works. It actually is effective. But if I say to the person, listen, they both have exactly the same ingredients, they're both identical in every way, the more expensive one will still work better.
Yeah.
So this shows,
and you're saying it literally works better.
It literally works better plus a placebo. Yes, the person will still feel that painkiller was more effective.
There is a change that happens, so it's physiological, it's not purely psychological.
Not pure psychological.
The cause is psychological.
Yeah. So pain and pain cycle, but they're literally, they will feel less pain. And what this shows is what Lacan and Freud understood. Is that object A is not, it does not exist because of your desire and your belief. It exists because of the desire and the belief of the big other. And in this sense, society, advertisers, the shop, this society is kind of saying this is a better painkiller. Mm-hmm. So even though you know it's not, object A still is within it because your desire and your belief is sustained by the big other's desire and the big other's belief. So in this way, what we desire is the other's desire. What we desire is the desire of the other. Object A is we're trying to get the other's desire. And what we desire is the desire of our parents, our desire of society. So that's what object A is. So whenever someone
object A is different than the object French word that you used, right?
No, same thing.
Same thing.
Okay.
But you're just saying smaller object A. Like I thought you meant like there's object A and smaller object. You're just saying that word is just on object A.
Yes.
Okay.
But it is said as small object, which the small almost means proto, like a proto object desire. It's an object, but you can't grasp it.
Yeah.
It's that like in Peep Show, whenever Superhand steals a chocolate bar. And Jez says, "Oh, it tastes really good." And he says the secret ingredient is crime, right? It's like the stolen chocolate bar tastes better than the regular chocolate bar because of object A.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's kind of that's why a stolen bottle of wine always tastes better than the same wine that's not stolen that you paid for. So that's and the question then for some people is, how do I what is it that that person has that evokes so much desire? And even if you're the object of desire, which is why some people are conflicted when they're, say, a beautiful woman, for example, who can love being beautiful, but also feel, are you just loving me because of my beauty? Or is there, what is the thing that is within me that is desirable? What is it? And so anyway, that's my suspicion of this intense
Wow.
interest
Yeah. Very
in a
intense.
nutshell.
My initial thoughts about it were when it was all going down. One thing not to, I think, be ignored is the fact that she's a cute girl, like a cute blonde girl who is doing social media, and that's such a ubiquitous sort of stereotype in our modern culture, and it's very lambasted against and very like cringed out upon. But it's also, she was just doing her thing and posting all these photos. I don't know if you know about this or not. She's trying to basically build her own brand, and there were
I heard, like, because I heard after she died, like her followers went crazy.
Yeah,
so I
and
knew she
that's
had
weird.
Something.
That's creepy.
Right.
And that's straight. And I saw those numbers go up. And I know who I follow and who chose to follow that account after knowing that she was gone. I think that's weird. Do you
But
think
that's
that's weird?
Object A. I think that's Object A. Is like,
Yeah, that's
like
a great
this,
point.
Yeah,
It's to your point.
It's to my point, because actually, although she's attractive and all that, she looks, from what I've seen, relatively normal, like young.
Also, like an
relatively
11, she looks
normal.
like a child.
She
There's
looks like a
something going on
child,
there. It's, yeah.
Yes, and she also looks like, to me, like she looks like she's just been picked out of Middle America, like not like this,
Yeah, totally. Great way to put it. Not a stunningly exotic sort of look, but a approachable, cute girl.
And so, yeah,
The
exactly.
last thing you want to, a good, wholesome person wants to see.
Exactly, but now that but the fact that she evoked this passion now means that that's what's so interesting, is that this woman who you wouldn't imagine as the person who would evoke that type of desire, she did. So now she has Object A. So now she's fascinating to everybody.
Totally, yeah. What was it about her? And I was thinking about, when you were talking, there were reports of her and Brian really arguing a lot about her desires to be sort of a famous person. And I know we're trying to stay on track with talking about the public's fascination with this kind of thing. But I started slipping into the actual case and the actual, what would drive someone to actually just murder someone and then try to get away with it.
Not that we know he did. I mean, that's still unsure.
Sure.
Yeah.
But allegedly murder. Allegedly, probably, definitely, right?
Well, I'm a big fan of
allegedly.
The legal system is shit, but it's much better than public opinion. So I always do. If I see anything that comes out online, I'll never make a judgment.
I like
until
that
it goes into
you
the legal system.
count me as public opinion. That's very nice. I am public opinion. Yeah. Well, assume allegedly, hypothetically, we will say. I can understand that sort of thing where he. If I can't have you, no one can, basically. And social media, a desire to be sort of famous, I guess, is sort of in and of itself kind of got a thing to it where it's like, what do you lack in that you need like a public opinion and public approval rather for your life. And I can see a very insecure person freaking out about that and being like, no, and then it being some sort of ugly thing.
So do you think, because that's really interesting, like, because in this idea that the thing that we really want is the desire of the people we desire. And if you feel the desire of the one you desire is being
that's
drawn
exactly
elsewhere,
what I'm saying.
Then that does evoke incredible.
Yeah, all of a sudden you're imagining the desire of your desire is desiring the desire of literally everyone and could be anyone. Then that's a probably a brain breaking thing if you're a little. You know what I mean?
I mean, that's why, by the way, whenever you break up with someone, that's usually not the point that your suffering is at its worst. It's whenever you see the other's jouissance or desire, or enjoyment being drawn by somebody else. So it's when they start going out with somebody else and you see that their enjoyment is going towards or being fulfilled by somebody else. That's often much more traumatic than the breakup. Yeah. Because now you no longer have their desire. Like, you could break up with someone and in your head still think, oh, they still desire me, they still want me, and that that can be better than going out with them.
Totally.
Because you can split up with someone so as to keep their desire. Actually, people do that sometimes, is to split up with somebody precisely to maintain the most precious substance,
distance.
which is desire itself.
Yeah.
But then when you see the desire going to someone else, then it's traumatic.
Yeah. I was also just in the true crime world watching this new docuseries on HBO called The Way Down. Have you heard about this?
No.
I remember hearing about it, and I'm pretty sure I grew up around this curriculum, but it's essentially this woman who was this sort of insane, like, sort of like if Tammy Faye Baker had like an evil doppelganger, and she had just big hair, pastor of a church that was really a cult, and she broke apart from the church, and she created this curriculum called The Way Down, where she basically...
Is this a documentary, by the way, or a movie?
Docuseries, yeah.
Docuseries, okay.
It's 3 parts right now, and I think they're going to do more. But she came up with this whole curriculum, basically pressured women into losing weight and funneled any relationship to God through how much weight you can lose, stop eating. It was very like the hyper conservative man rules the house. But then she would just sort of take all these people's money, and I won't spoil how it ends, but essentially at one point she starts handing out.
It sounds so different, by the way, from those diets that are on Instagram of people who, you pay these women who will tell you how to diet.
Oh, it's so different.
I know. There's socially acceptable ways and unacceptable, but this is obviously unacceptable. But so keep going. This is interesting.
It was unacceptable, and it's so sad. But I mean, it's worth watching just to look at this woman's hair, because it's insane. And she ends up sort of divorcing her first husband, who disagreed with it, but and then marrying this guy who was like this sort of deadbeat actor dude who looked the part. And it's just, you hear all the testimonies of these people that are in this cult, and it's absolutely bonkers and totally fascinating. But it's called The Way Down, and you should check it out. Because it's based on the book WEIGH, but it's called The Way Down, and there's a reason. There's another reason it's called The Way Down. I won't spoil for you, but same thing. It's watching this and going, would I fall for that? Would I be in that situation? Would I go through that? Why do I enjoy watching this? I don't know, but I'm going to stay up all night.
Well, this is the thing. And I bang on about this. This is why I'm so critical of contemporary society. Is that I love these documentaries, because the way I think we should read them is that they're like a parable, where we end up laughing at the ridiculousness of these people, and
great statement.
We also condemn it, and then we go, oh shit, that's actually happening right now on Instagram every day. Same with purity culture. You know, it's like we can laugh at conservative Christians, go, oh, purity culture is so stupid, and then you go, oh, we live in a purity culture today. Like, in other words, religion is alive and well. Mm-hmm. Purity cultures, these kind of cult-like groups and all that, they're operating, but they're invisible. It's always easy to see the others' dirt. It's always easy to see the speck in the other's eye and not the plank in one's own.
Yeah.
To quote somebody.
Yeah, Socrates, I think. Jesus. What was I going to say? Oh, I just lost it. Yeah. It was something about something. Have you fallen down the alpha, beta, zeta, sigma male thing? It is a treasure trove of weird ass purity culture stuff. Like just dudes being like, I don't know, so distraught and so. I think it's a manifestation of their alienation from society at large and all that stuff. But it's fascinating, and it's cringy as well.
Well, here the thing. So, as you know, and I've never given you the name for it, I was on this kind of interesting conservative podcast recently. And
did I just say the name of it?
No, but one of the questions I got asked was, am I an alpha? And I think it was an alpha male or a beta male. That was the alpha. And he under his breath, he said beta. So I think he thinks I'm a beta male, which sounds now there's actually a lot of rungs beneath beta. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
But, so that's good.
Well, sigma is parallel to alpha.
Oh.
But it's rather than a pack leader, it lives on its own.
Oh,
It's so
right.
stupid.
So this guy is very into that stuff, and it was quite funny because I was quite new to it, and I was like, "Whoa, how do I answer this?" And he asked me, what is a man? But he's really into this alpha beta thing, and I'm sure all of that. So,
Oh,
um,
what a great! I mean, we should do a whole episode on that
yeah.
phenomenon because it is uh, like,
So what are the different levels?
well,
Alpha, beta.
alpha, beta, right? And then there's I think sigma is the only one I really know of. There might be a theta male. Let me see. Let's see. Let's look it up right now because this will be alpha, beta, sigma, personalities. Okay, let's see here. The 6 male personalities.
Right.
There's alpha versus beta versus gamma versus omega versus delta versus sigma.
Oh, so they're in polarities with each
Yeah.
other. Okay.
And this is a small business and marketing advice. So this is going to be as sound as you can get.
Yeah.
Every man has unique personality traits that make him who he is and determine his actions. Despite seemingly random acts and ways of going about life being the norm for all men, there are ways to categorize a man's actions into more specific traits and tendencies. 1, alpha male. He's confident. He's outgoing. He's a leader. He's charismatic. That's me.
That's every quality.
Every quality to a point, and exhausts all of my qualities.
Yes.
The beta male. He's friendly. He's reserved. He's submissive. He's loyal. That's you.
Just me, right there. Look, this is the alpha and the beta.
There it is.
Maybe that's the new podcast name.
Alpha, beta. Oh,
Alpha,
yeah.
beta.
If we want the worst, or not the worst. The gamma male. He's adventurous. Where the alpha male acts in a way that pleases others, the gamma male will do whatever he wants to feel fulfilled in his life. Gamma males usually have a wide array of skills and interests. Okay, so he's eager, he's aware, he's empathetic. The omega male, he's self-assured, he's driven, he's intelligent. What the fuck do you mean? He has diversified interests. And then there's the delta male. He's resigned, he's resentful, he's self-sabotaging. He's lonely. Oh crap! I'm a delta.
Okay,
and then there's the sigma
like
male.
Enneagram stuff.
It's Enneagram. That's exactly what it is. Yeah. And then finally there is the sigma male. You ready for this?
Okay.
All right. So we've gone through all of these, and I definitely didn't click. He's cunning. The sigma male. He's self-confident. He's likable. He's calculated. Conclusion: from the alpha male to the sigma male, every male personality is unique in its own way. These personalities can determine how different men will react in social and business settings alike. You can use your personality type to thrive in life, and understanding others will help you better interact and make these interactions. And then you need to sign up for the information, the INFJ and INTP about the author from the Capitalism, how to make this much a month. Go away.
Now here's the thing, and I want to say this because it's very good that we've got this diverse thing. As I am actually very sympathetic to all of that, and you're not so much. And I think that's a good thing that we can appeal to different parts of the audience because.
Well, I'm a delta male. I am resentful and I'm resigned.
But the reason why I'm really sympathetic to these things is because I think they're a genuine response to stuff that's going on in society. Like I think there's genuinely some people, there's genuinely within some communities a feeling of masculinity not being something that is as welcomed or as wanted. And I've seen this on social media and dating apps and all of that kind of stuff, and I can understand that, and I think that this generates an opposite, and then that opposite generates more of the opposite, and they're dialectically related. So that I'm always I'm more sympathetic to, as someone who's obviously I'm kind of politically kind of on the left, but I'm very sympathetic to the cultural critique of the conservatives, much more so than the liberal position.
Now, here's my pushback there.
Okay,
when you say sympathetic, it implies that I myself am not sympathetic toward the individuals who become enwrapped in this sort of.
You'd be sympathetic to the individuals, but I'm saying that you're more sympathetic. I think let's see what you think about this.
Yeah.
I think you're more sympathetic to kind of to woke culture, and I'm more sympathetic to the critique of woke culture. But we're both sympathetic to the individuals that are within those cultures. Like, I think you're very sympathetic to
I guess so.
individuals.
Yeah.
So, and that's good. That gives us a diverse audience to, so some people will go, oh yeah, no, I'm with Elliott, and some people go, oh yeah, I'm with Pete.
I don't know. You know what I wonder? You know what I think? I wonder if I'm the least sympathetic toward the pushback against woke, not necessarily the sort of like. Did you see that Mark Driscoll video that went?
No, is he still around? I didn't.
Apparently, he is.
Okay.
He posted some crazy video.
Oh yeah, there was. I heard. Oh yeah, and I heard there was some big article written about him about a month ago. That's all I know.
Oh really?
No, so it's.
Well, if you don't know who Mark Driscoll is, he was like a famous evangelical pastor for a real long time, and then I think fell off something. He fell from grace or whatever. Yeah. He did the whole arc, but he released a video basically saying critical theory is from Satan. And critical theory is Satan, and if you have, and for all you, and he ends the video by going, for all you woke joke folk, you're probably get ready to be offended, and that is where my sympathy ends.
No, that's exactly what I mean.
Yeah.
Whereas I am sympathetic,
right? Because I think that's cringy. Like, something about it doesn't sound like you're.
Well, it's silly. I mean, it's totally cringy. Like, that's the thing. Is for me, it's the canary. Like, that's the caricature, because it's a kind of anyway. It's a very bad caricature, but I can understand where it comes from. Whereas, here's the funny thing. Whereas the caricature on the other side, they're both the same, but I think I'm more sympathetic, as in I get that critique.
I get the critique.
You're more sympathetic to the other one.
I get the critique. I don't buy it. It feels like a bad faith argument. It feels like I bet you I could spend 6 months, go, oh guys, I got red pilled, and I'm gonna go after these woke folk now, and I'd make a lot of money. And I just don't buy it. Like, I think these people are grifting off of a very real critique.
Well, see, what I would say again is exactly my point, but as I would say, you can grift on either side. The point being, you would feel more uncomfortable grifting on that side than that side. So whereas I
guess I don't like either of them, but I get more pissy about that.
Yes, or you get more libidinal enjoyment from mocking the conservatives than the liberals, and I probably get more libidinal enjoyment from mocking liberals than the conservatives.
Yeah, I guess I just think one side's funnier too than the other one. But
see here,
woke folk joke.
But my critique is ultimately, so my disagreement with the right, my main disagreement with people like I forget all their names now, but I do but the critique, my main critique of the right is not their critique of the woke culture, is that they think woke culture is a leftist socialist position.
Yeah.
And as you know, like I've argued, and I argued this in a podcast that we never put up because I didn't want to put it up, but we're going to redo it.
We're going to get past that, yeah.
Is that, for me, no woke ideology is completely consumerist. It's like, that's why Facebook and Twitter and the CIA, the major educational establishment, Hollywood, the reason why they've all embraced woke is precisely because they're not socialists, capitalist, is to keep people divided.
It's like in baseball caps.
Yes.
It's just like you say the right thing and it puts you in the right camp, and then you get people who go there and just like me, let me buy their product, and then you make money.
But it keeps people divided. Like, capitalism always works by getting people to misperceive where the true antagonism is.
Capitalism works by working hard and picking yourself up by the bootstraps.
That's right. Yeah. So the funny thing is, whenever I'm talking to people in LA who are obviously pro-capitalist, most of them, and I'm not. The funny thing is, I'm not anti-capitalist. I just have a critique.
It's a very nuanced position that you're finding, and it's fun to hear you because you're finding it, but it's sort of like you're having a conversation with yourself, basically.
Yeah. Well, I'm also nervous because the words from Europe mean something different in America. So, like, on the podcast I was on last week, I said to him, "Oh yeah, I'm influenced by Marx," and he immediately
Yeah. Did he have smoke coming out of his ears?
Well, he was, but he kind of was into this whole thing of like Marx was possessed by the devil, and something weirdly about how Marx possessed his parents. I don't know. It got very weird.
Nice.
And so Marx was really anti-religion, and I tried to quote Marx, and well, no, this is what Marx says about religion. And I quoted Pat, but he was very upset. Like, just the word was a trigger that definitely triggered him. Yeah. And I was like, oh, so that's a word I need to avoid. Because when I talk about Marx, all I mean is that I think his analysis of the workings and the central antagonism of capitalism is correct. That's what I mean. So in Capital, he analyzes capital and he analyzes the central antagonism. That's all I mean.
Can I listen to this episode and then we do a reflection on the episode?
Okay, what's that?
Can I listen to this podcast and then we do a I'll critique it.
Oh yeah,
I'll
that's
review
great.
it. Yeah.
Why are you thinking about that? That's a good
that
idea.
way, because I would love to listen to this and just hear the little nuances of the spit take when you say that you're influenced by Marx, because that's just, I don't think you even know how bold of a move that is. That's just stepping on a trigger.
Is that right?
Yeah, you can't say that word. Socialism is another one. They can't handle that one. That's a trigger word for sure.
Yeah. Well, what was surprising to me is he found the words communism and socialism less triggering than Marxism, because he said, like, are you a communist or a socialist? And I said, well, and I said, here's the thing. And I said, it's like in Europe, we all read Marx. Marx is on the curriculum. If you're going to be a philosopher or in any of the humanities, you're going to read a bit of Marx. So I said, of course, I've read Marx, and I would be more influenced by Marx. So I used that term, and I was interested that was like he was already worried that I was a socialist or even a communist, but actually he was more freaked out when I said that I was.
That makes sense.
That I was influenced by Marx.
That's like the Marco Rubio tweet that he did recently, where he was like, what's happening right now within socialism? It's Marxism. And somebody replied to him and was like, does your polling just say that saying Marxism gets people more riled up in your base? And it does. Marxism gets them real freaked out.
Because I want to work that. The reason why I want to work that out, and I'm sensitive, we can do it in the podcast, is because actually my politics, in a nutshell, is a politics of contradiction, not opposition. So any oppositional politics that creates friend and enemy distinctions and then says there's the enemy to ridicule and mock, I think that is the fundamental political gesture to reject. And a politics of contradiction is a politics which sees us all interwoven into antagonisms that we have to jointly wrestle through. And I want to find a way to articulate that without having to mention any of these names and words like Marx that trigger. So I actually say I'm a Hegelian, not a Marxist. And that's a good way, because people don't really aren't triggered by Hegel. So I say, and that's true, I'm a Hegelian, not a Marxist, but Marx was a Hegelian.
I say I'm a Biden-loving liberal, and that usually goes over well.
Yeah. I knew it.
I don't even think there are those. I don't know many of those that exist. Well, in your contradiction versus opposition debate, do you find yourself drawn to stories of murder and true crime and macabre, dark fringe events that sort of are peppered across the country that you hear about via dramatic music and a narrator and one-on-one interviews with people that are shot very cinematically?
Yeah, no, that's a good.
That sounds like a pre-written question.
Yeah.
Do you watch any of that stuff?
I don't, and it's funny because I don't think So there's if you talk about the two different types of neurotic desire, which is you want to have the object of desire or you want to be the object of desire, then I'm probably, although none of us fit in different ways. It sounds too reductive, but I am less. I less have a sexuality of wanting to understand how to be the object of desire. I'm probably more, I want the object of desire. And I think people who like true crime get really, really into it, are more interested in being the object of desire.
Yeah, you're not one to consume the true crime. You're one to go out and actually murder somebody.
Yes, I relate more to the murderer.
Okay, great.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's just make that clear.
This one, yeah.
If I haven't lost enough people by saying that I'm influenced by Marx, then also,
I don't think that'll be a shock to literally anybody.
Marx was possessed of the devil, and so am I.
Yeah. Oh man, maybe he was.
What does it do to you? Like as growing up in America, conservative America, Florida, both. I'll ask it in two ways. What did the word Marx signify to you, maybe when you were young, and what does it signify to you now?
Bad stuff. Bad.
Yeah.
Marx is wanted to destroy democracy, basically. Not even capitalism, just full on democracy.
Just everything. Just wants to take it apart.
Yeah, Marxism. I remember just being just a red herring, just a word that was like
It meant Stalinism, I guess, in America.
Yeah, communism. Yeah,
Okay, communism, Stalinism, Stalinist Russia.
Yeah, and
Soviet
then
Russia.
that whole culture had sort of an air of you don't consume things like that because they can sort of influence you. And so, it's that kind of thing of trash in, trash out, which I think is very true. And you do get influenced by things. And so it was very much like, don't read that, don't touch that, get that out, repel that. And then you come to find out that it's like a kind of palatable thing. But we gotta talk about Grimes reading Communist Manifesto after being broken up with by Elon Musk.
Oh, was Grimes reading Communist Manifesto?
Grimes is walking around looking like...
has been, that's good news, my goodness, because she was super identitarian.
Yeah, well, Grimes is walking around like a obvious photo shoot, wearing clothes that look like she fell out of Hunger Games, as always.
As always, yeah.
And she's reading the Communist Manifesto, like holding it up like this.
That's funny. I wonder what she's communicating.
Of course, it got memed out the butt, but really, really funny. And yeah,
it might sink in. Because Elon Musk, it seems that to me that he has read and understands some Marxist theory.
Yeah.
But I haven't heard him talk about it. But that was always one of the things that I saw between Musk and Grimes. Like, they have very different political positions. Yeah. So Grimes, what are people saying? Like, why do you think she's doing it? Is it a way to say, like, what's the message? Because I don't know much. I know her. I like her music. She's a very talented musician, brilliant musician. But I don't know anything about her. Or Musk, really, their relationship.
I have no idea. People are obviously making fun of it. I mean, it's kind of like,
Lady Gaga, she did stuff with Zizek, and with a friend of mine called Crescent Davis. Knows her. She's read the Zizek and Lacan and Marx, and she properly understands the theory.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah. I like Lady Gaga. She's always one that I don't change the channel on. She's wonderful. But the photos are just so, I don't know. It's just her like standing around like and outside, just perfectly holding it up, and it's a little like photo oppy, but I get it. Whatever. She got broken up with by one of the richest people in the world. So
the funny thing is, by the way, is when Zizek and Peterson debated, and we talked about this, it's absolutely hilarious. Is Peterson, for his homework for the debate, read the Communist Manifesto. And it's hilarious. So Zizek, who's written around about 100 books and has made a major contribution to about 5 different areas of in the world, comes in, and then Peterson comes in having read the Communist Manifesto, which was a pamphlet.
Yeah.
A pamphlet written for workers. And I'm like, that was very, very funny.
Yeah.
Like, that is not what, if you want to read Marx, just read the first chapter of Capital, the first couple of chapters of Capital,
Oh, really?
Yeah. But that's where the important stuff is, really. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. But what does the word do for you now? I think so, because you grew up in an environment where it was associated with Soviet Russia. It was associated with maybe the demonic and also with Stalin and the end of democracy.
Nothing's changed.
Nothing. Yep.
Get out, I say to Marx. No, I only. What is it they say? The more you read, the less you know. The more you learn, the less you know. The more you learn, the more you realize how little you know. It's not my area of expertise, but I definitely don't feel threatened or scared of it.
It doesn't trigger anything, because that's what I'm trying to figure out. Being in America, where there's still people, it's just a word that just still connotes a triggering.
No, I wish it did for fewer people, because I think it's an interesting conversation to have. It seems to me to be a word that I, like you said, stay away from. It's packed. It's a shibboleth, right? It's packed with so much meaning. It's packed with more meaning, I think, than it necessarily deserves. Like, it packs a punch.
Yeah.
So I try to stay away from it, because it's a good way of ending a conversation, I think.
Yeah. I know. That's why I try to avoid it, because at the end of the day, the major kind of, if you put it into a nutshell, for me, like, it's a lot to put into a nutshell, but it's the idea that Marx says that we are alienated in work. So we end up, even if we get well paid, even if you're paid very, very well, you end up spending most of your day doing a job that you have no personal investment in, that doesn't kind of enrich you in any significant way. So much so that what it does do is it enriches the most animalistic parts of us. Like, we want to go to the bathroom to go to the toilet because that gets us out of work, or we want to have sex, or we want to have a meal. These are all fine things, but it's the only thing that gives us value
Base
we
desires.
because we don't get value from what we are creating.
I've never thought about that. I've never thought about how jobs make you want to poop and eat and have sex.
Yeah. So that I'd kind of find the only enjoyment you can have
just
from
the most primal things.
Those primal things. So it kind of turns everything upside down.
Whoa. Kind of blew my mind there.
Well,
I never thought about that.
Yeah. I know, early Marx, he was kind of really into this idea of alien. He writes beautifully on this of just how work can be kind of really reduce us in that kind of way. And
I thought I was a genius when I was working at animal hospitals and got excited for when I had to go poo-poo. I was like, oh, here you go, I have a 20-minute break.
Yeah.
If I take my time, if I plan this right.
That's the only way to extract a little bit of jouissance, a little bit of pleasure out of your life, is that little.
And now with phones, it's like you go in there and you're going to the toilet and you have your phone with you. You go blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
So you're just like, which is also probably a very primal desire of just sort of zoning out and escaping. And
and so we're very lucky because there are people who, like, we get to do what we love.
Yeah.
That's why I've always, since I was young, I've just done what I've loved. And then in the last 10 years or whatever, I've been able to get money for what I love. But very few people get to experience that.
Yeah.
And the question is, can we have a society where people are invested in what they do, they're invested in what they do, and they also benefit financially from the value they bring to their work? And can they have more democratic involvement in their work as well? So just like in politics, you vote for people, but in work, there's no democracy. It's the person at the top makes all the decisions. Is it possible to have a workplace that has more democracy, so you're more invested in the work, and as I say, you benefit from that's kind of Marxism in a nutshell.
Yeah.
And some people say, well, maybe we can't think of a society like that, but that's a good
it's fun
thing
to imagine.
Yeah.
Imagine all the people. What do you think the reason is for the usurping of Marxism into the social Marxism narrative, the right's critique of wokeism, as they call it? Would you say that what happened? Is Marxism? Is it because of the power of the word Marxism that it became a good sort of like tent pole for like, oh, you know what this is? This is just another version of Marx. When in actuality, it's like not that at all.
Yeah, I mean,
they could have been like, no, this is actually just purity culture, a secularized purity culture. But instead, they said, no, this is a fanatic Marxist agenda.
Yeah, this is right up my street, right? And this you have to be. I don't know if we've got time to talk about this. Yeah, what I would say in a nutshell.
I triggered Pete.
Yeah, very very quickly, and then I would love to expand out, like maybe in a different podcast or in talks.
Sure.
Is that so? Because this is the funny thing, is right. Not only this is where the right and the liberals agree. Let's say the right and the American left agree, is they both think that woke culture and identity politics is socialist and Marxist, right? That's really interesting. That's a very interesting kind of notion, but one like it and one don't. You can trace the mistake in the narrative of the right very easily, because there's this narrative where Marxism became untenable in the mid-20th century. Then it became a cultural Marxism with the Frankfurt School, and then that cultural Marxism came over to America and the university. So the right have this genealogy. So basically Marxism became cultural Marxism, which became postmodernism, critical theory. Postmodernism became critical theory infested the universities. That's the narrative. Interestingly, on a purely intellectual level, Marxism and postmodernism are not they don't fit together. You can't move from Marxism to postmodernism. Postmodernism is a critique of Marxism, and Marxism has a critique of postmodernism. The reason why I think this has happened is partly because because society doesn't work and our economic system doesn't really work that well, you have to have a scapegoat to blame for it not working. And I think that for the right, this woke culture is the scapegoat to say that the society isn't working because of this infestation of French critical theory and political theory into American system, rather than seeing this as the symptomatic manifestation of the truth of how the system isn't working. So the woke culture is not
cause versus effect kind of deal.
Yeah, or symptom versus problem. Yeah, so like the woke culture is the symptom of the problem with capitalism. It's not what is preventing capitalism from working.
Flourishing wonderfully and being a perfect utopia.
Yes, it is. It is the manifestation of the crisis in a displaced way. That's what I would argue. And then the funny thing is, people on the left have seen woke culture not as the expression of the violence of capitalism, or whatever. It kind of the truth speaking. They have seen it as the way to overcome the system, whereas I think it's what the system requires in order to function.
Yeah, they see it almost as a fixing of the system.
Yeah, or they think that,
and the other sees a destruction of the system. But both are agreeing that the system good.
So yeah, because both of them are basically saying that the woke ideology is an obstacle to capitalism. So they both agree on that, but one is it's the obstacle that has to be gotten rid of to make capitalism flourish. The other, it's the obstacle that we need to enhance in order to collapse capitalism. But neither of them see is that it's the obstacle that allows capitalism to function. So that's the Lacanian, Zizek'ian thing, is that no, it is the obstacle, but capitalism's always required obstacles in order to function. You always have to have a scapegoat. You always have to have someone to blame for things not working perfectly. That's what I think this functions for the right.
No one understands the words you use, right? You can't just say words. You can't just make up little syllables and string them together, Pete.
You said, because that's exactly what that guy said.
I know, I'm going to try to mention it every podcast. Whenever you get on a roll, I'm going to go, and no one knows what you're talking about.
Yeah, the guy says, do people literally like nod their heads and pretend they know what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly. That's what it is. So do people just nod their heads and pretend? Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. Central antagonism, okay. Well, that's great. I like that very much, Pete, and I'm sure it's worth expounding upon, but do you feel good about it? Because this episode is going up and there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, okay, because I generally, after we've talked, I go, we can't put that up, so this is definitely going up.
I've never seen a podcast with more episodes on the cutting room floor, but that's why we have patreon.com/thefundamentalists, and you can see some of them there.
Some of them there. Maybe we should put up all of the ones that don't get put up publicly.
Well, I'd like to see the Patreon go up, not the Patreon go down.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys.
Any takeaway? Or,
takeaways. Well, I mean, look, I love when we deviate from the course, but or path a little bit. Yeah, I got a takeaway. Is this what your book is going to be about?
Oh yeah, I'm writing a new book. Which one? About politics or about murder?
Yeah, the politics. It's
going to be a true crime. Yeah,
whole chapter on Brian Landry or whatever his name is. Is it going to be on that?
Yeah, it's going to be on this notion of central antagonism and what that means. What is it? And it's going to be on Object A.
The term I just made fun of.
Exactly. It's going to go about that.
What are you writing every day?
I have been. Yeah, I took a few days off to read a bit more. There's a couple of books I wanted to read before I kept going, but I have been writing most days.
How many words do you write
probably try and write about 1,000 a day when I'm writing.
When you read, take days off and you read a little bit, you get a little bit more ideas. Do you credit all those?
So
or do you kind of take them as your own account?
Just kind of but because I don't write academic books as such, or I want to write books that are read by people. What I do is I'll footnote people, but then at the beginning,
I see. Yeah.
I do so as not to have to footnote everything. I'll list the main people who have influenced me. So I'll go so as I'm not like every footnote, I'll go these are the writers that are particularly kind of influenced this thought, and then I could cut down the amount of footnotes a little bit.
I love when books have footnotes at the end that you can reference them.
Yeah, but I'll have a fair amount of that, and anything that I'm directly using will always be footnoted.
Nice. Well, I'm very excited about it. No, I have no other takeaways besides that. I'm very excited about it. So thank you guys very much for listening. Do you have a takeaway?
No, I'm good.
Yeah, you nailed it. All right, bye everybody. Thank you so much.
Bye.